Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Kelly Sparks. Hey. So today I'm going to go over a question that was asked on the video, the 5 common questions about bourbon. This one came from good old Dean Daco. Dean has sent plenty of samples to me. I appreciate it. He was patron for a little bit, but had a series of... You hush. I'm trying to talk to people here. Come in here. Sit down. So Dean asks, he wanted to know what are some of my top 5 or the top pitfalls or mistakes people make with bourbon, whiskey, scotch, whatever. He also asked, another one is, has the fear of missing out on a specific bottle ever happened or to Redbeard or any of the other bearded idiots, and how did they handle it? So he also stated, I think the fear is the real thing and you end up buying more bourbon than you should. Reason I ask is some guy on a Facebook group posted the receipt of all the bourbons he bought, and he ended up paying $50 for Eagle Rare, $150 for Weller 12, $60 for 1792 Full Proof, and $100 for Old Weller Antique, and $100 for Blanton's. He said, I almost wanted to vomit when I saw that. I totally agree with you, Dean. But let's go back to the first one. Some of the biggest pitfalls, I don't know if I'll come up with 5 of them. Some of the biggest pitfalls or mistakes I think people make with whiskey, and I think the biggest one of all, and one that most people really need to pay attention to, is overindulgence of the liquid itself. There's a certain group on YouTube and Facebook, and if you're following my channel, you're more than likely following their channel. They have a sober week, 1 week every 3 months. I think it's 1 week a quarter. They dry out for a week, and I think that's great if you're the type of person who has zero control over your drinking during the week. If you feel like you need to have a sober week, by all means do that, because if you're not, and you're in that state of mind, you probably have some serious issues, some serious dependencies. I mean, I go several days throughout the week without taking a drink. Most days I'll have one drink, like one little glass before bedtime. That's usually it. Seldomly I'll have a few more drinks. If Gino comes over, I'll probably have a few drinks and a cigar or whatever. But I do believe that overindulgence, which can lead to hardcore alcoholism, is probably the biggest problem with whiskey in general. I come from a long line of hardcore alcoholics. My mother's side of the family, particularly mother's side of the family, my grandfather, he was Native American. My grandmother, she was full-blooded Irish, so that was a pretty rough combination to start with. So they were both hardcore alcoholics. My grandfather, he pretty much drank himself into the hospital, and he died there. My grandmother drank herself into the hospital, and the doctor told, I believe it was my mom who took her, told her that if she hadn't have brought her in when she did, she'd probably be dead the next day. She was that far gone. And thankfully she did, because my grandmother lived for 13 more years and passed away probably 5 or 6 years ago. So, but yeah, overindulgence is definitely the worst thing you can, the worst pitfall in whiskey. I think the next one is kind of goes off of what Dean said. The fear of missing out on a specific bottle, and whenever you do miss out on it, you end up buying a lot more stuff than you would if you'd have got it. I don't really have a situation where I was upset that I missed the bottle. I'm just happy. So hopefully whoever buys the bottle that I really wanted drinks it and shares it with their friends and family. That's the only thing I worry about. I don't want somebody to buy a bottle and to try to resell it. It's just bad business. I mean, it's good short-term business, but in the long run, we're just hurting ourselves. But another big pitfall is buying too many whiskeys. The hunt for the whiskey, which I found out personally, the hunt for the whiskey is just as addictive as tasting the whiskey itself. When I first got into this, I was spending way too much money. I had just come into a little bit of inheritance, and I had a bunch of money burning a hole in my pocket, and I proceeded to spend quite a bit of it just buying random bottles off the shelf that I've never tasted. And I was buying 3 or 4 different bottles a week, and just blowing through the inheritance that I got. But yeah, that's probably the second biggest pitfall. Over accumulating your stash, your inventory. I see a lot of people on social medias, they'll post pictures of their bottles, and they'll have like 8 different bottles of the same one, and they'll just have them just stacked up. Like, you don't need that many bottles. I mean, you can have half as many and still space them out, because I guarantee you, you're not drinking that same thing every day. So overbuying would probably be the next one. As far as another pitfall, what is wrong with you? And I'm just trying to think these off my head. I was thinking about it a lot, but I really couldn't come up with really more than the overindulgence and the over-purchasing. And I think that the over-purchasing is causing a lot of the mass hysteria behind it's like a self-generated, can't even think of the word. We've caused our own, I can't even think of the word, damn it. So now y'all see I record these lives. We've caused our own scarcity. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot. People going in, and I'm guilty of it myself, people going in buying cases of stuff, or sending their friends. They go in, buy a bottle or two, and their friend comes in, buys a bottle or two, and they just accumulate all these bottles, and then you cause a scarcity. And we're doing that to ourselves. And we're the reason that the prices are going up on the secondary market, because we have people like that. And I'm guilty of it as well, but I'd say that would be the other one. So what else did he ask? The fear of, I think the fear is the real thing. You end up buying more, or fear of missing out. Yeah, the fear of missing out, I really don't feel that anymore. I know I really wanted a couple bottles this year, but they'll be around next year. I'll get next year's release. I got the Eagle Rare 17 this year, and the George T. Stagg. I got the William LaRue Weller last year. So next year I'll pick up something else, and it'll be cool. But I definitely would try to discourage people from spending too much on the secondary market. If you can find somebody who has an ability to find whiskeys that most people can't at retail, I mean, contact that person, see if you can't work something out. But I would personally rather just charge someone a finder's fee, like maybe 10% of the bottle or whatever. And I mean, they're gonna have to pay for shipping, they're gonna have to pay for the bottle itself, and then like a 10% finder's fee. You're still gonna be paying quite a bit of money just doing that. I mean, if you're buying a bottle of Old Weller Antique, which is about $50-$55 here locally, I mean, with shipping, you're going to spend $15. That's right. That's $70 already, plus with a finder's fee. I mean, you might be spending $100 on a bottle of Old Weller Antique after it's all said and done. So, just be careful, guys. Let's see, what else did he ask? I think that's it on that one. But yeah, those are some top pitfalls of mine. I could probably, if I sat down with a pen and paper, and I'm not really good with sitting down with pens and papers, but I could probably write down a lot more pitfalls. But I do think the the overindulgence, and the I forgot the second one I mentioned. Overindulgence and then over accumulating are some of the biggest. And there's more out there, but like I said, I record these live, no editing. So, be hush. I gotta get her outside. But I think that's all I'm going to talk about on this one. I got more questions. Somebody asked about cigar whiskey pairings. So I'm going to try to get one of the guys from the Smoking Aces Mobile Cigar Lounge to sit in with me. And we'll talk about cigars and whiskey and how to pair them properly. So stay tuned for that one. I think that's, trying to see what other questions were on here. No. I think that was it on that video. But anyway, like always, guys, stay safe, drink some whiskey, share it with your friends and family. Don't drink and drive. Be careful out there. It's not worth it. Like always, drink some whiskey, share it with your friends and family. Have a nice day. I'm going to let Bonnie out. I think she's about to pee on herself. Y'all have a good night.